Hi, I'm Kaylin. Standing in my cramped apartment kitchen, I stared at the envelope like it might bite me. 3 years of silence and now this. A letter with my father's familiar scrawl across the front. My roommate Danny glanced up from her coffee. You gonna open that or have a staring contest with it? It's from my dad, I said, my voice barely audible. Danny's spoon clattered against her mug. Whoa, ghost dad resurfaces? Thought he vanished after the whole... Yeah. I cut her off, sliding my finger under the seal. 3 years of nothing, and suddenly he remembers I exist. I unfolded the letter, scanning its contents. My hands began to shake. Kaylin, you look like you've seen a ghost, Danny said, setting her mug down. He's selling Grandma's house, I whispered. The one she promised would come to me. Danny crossed the room, reading over my shoulder. Wait, can he even do that? Didn't your grandma leave it to you in her will? That's just it, I said, pointing to the paragraph that had turned my blood to ice. According to this, he had power of attorney before she died. He claims he redirected her assets to help with his business ventures. He stole your inheritance? That's messed up, Danny said, eyes widening. The letter continued with a hollow apology and a pathetic offer of 10% from the sale. A gesture of goodwill, he called it. The phone rang, startling us both. I answered to hear my cousin Mara's voice, uncharacteristically frantic. Did you get a letter? Tell me you got one too, she demanded. About Grandma's house? Yeah, just now. Not just the house, Kaylin. Everything. The savings bonds, the antiques, her jewelry collection. It's all gone. Uncle Thomas liquidated everything. My knees weakened. What? She had separate trusts for each of us. He couldn't touch those. Well, he did. I called Aunt Patricia and she's freaking out too. Apparently he forged documents or something. I don't know the details yet. I sank into a chair. Does Marcus know? Our older cousin had been closest to Grandma. I called him first. He's already talking to a lawyer friend of his. He wants us all to meet tonight at his place. I'll be there, I promised, hanging up. Danny watched me with concern. Your dad seriously stole from his own mother? And his kids? Apparently. I felt numb, then suddenly furious as another thought hit me. The timing makes sense now. He disappeared right after Grandma's funeral. Must have been busy covering his tracks. My phone buzzed with a text from my brother Aaron. Just got Dad's letter. Call me ASAP. I need to call Aaron, I told Danny, already dialing. He answered immediately. This is insane, Cal. I know. Did you talk to Mara or Marcus? Both. Marcus is on fire. Says Dad committed elder abuse and a fraud. We're meeting at Marcus's tonight, I said. Can you make it? Wouldn't miss it. Hey, wait. There's something else you should know. Dad's back in town. I saw him yesterday at that cafe near his old office. My stomach clenched. After 3 years, he just shows up and acts like nothing happened? While he's selling off our inheritance behind our backs? That's not all. Aaron's voice lowered. He wasn't alone. He was with Bradley Palmer. Grandma's financial advisor? The one who helped set up all our trusts? The very same. They looked pretty cozy for a professional meeting. I felt sick as the pieces started falling into place. I think we need to talk to Palmer too. Already planning on it, Aaron replied. See you tonight. As I hung up, Danny raised her eyebrows. So what's the plan? I stared at the letter, a cold determination settling over me. First, we get answers. Then we make sure my father regrets every dollar he stole. Marcus's downtown loft buzzed with tense energy as we all gathered that evening. My brother Aaron paced by the windows while Mara flipped anxiously through a folder of documents. Patricia, my father's sister, sat rigidly on the couch, her face drawn and pale. Marcus emerged from his home office, his lawyer friend Jordan following close behind. Thanks for coming, everyone, Marcus said, his normally cheerful voice somber. Jordan's been looking into what legal options we have. Before we get started, Jordan said, arranging papers on the coffee table, I need to understand exactly what happened. Who received what communications from Thomas? We all produced our letters. nearly identical except for the insultingly different percentages he'd offered each of us. 15%? Aaron scoffed, looking at Mara's letter. I only got offered 8. He offered me 20, Patricia said quietly. Probably thought he could buy my silence. Jordan examined the letters carefully. These offers themselves are admission that he knows these assets weren't his to sell. That works in our favor. Can we stop him from selling Grandma's house? I asked. That's the immediate concern, Jordan nodded. We can file for an emergency injunction, but I need to know more about how he got control in the first place. Patricia cleared her throat. I might have some insight. Mom, your grandmother, had a stroke 2 months before she died. Thomas convinced her she needed help managing her affairs while she recovered. And she trusted him, Marcus said bitterly. We all did, Patricia replied, her voice breaking. I found this in my old emails. It's from Bradley Palmer, confirming the power of attorney arrangement. She handed her phone to Jordan, who read it with narrowed eyes. This is dated 3 weeks before your grandmother died, Jordan said. But the house sale contract I reviewed is dated just 2 days after her death. That's suspiciously fast. Palmer had to be involved, Aaron said. There's no way Dad could navigate all this financial maneuvering on his own. I actually spoke with Palmer this afternoon, I admitted, drawing everyone's attention. He claimed everything was done legally, but he seemed nervous when I mentioned getting lawyers involved. What exactly did he say? Jordan asked, leaning forward. He kept repeating that he only followed client instructions and that Thomas assured him everyone was in agreement. Classic deflection, Jordan noted. He's covering himself. Marcus's phone rang, and he stepped away to answer. When he returned, his expression was grim but determined. That was my friend at the county records office, he said. The power of attorney document has some issues. The notary whose stamp appears on it doesn't exist. A shocked silence fell over the room. So it's forged? Mara asked. Almost certainly, Marcus replied. And that changes everything. We need to confront Dad directly, Aaron said, standing up. Get him to admit what he did. Patricia shook her head. Thomas won't confess to anything. He'll just spin more lies. Then we don't tip our hand, I said, an idea forming. We approach him like we're accepting his offers, get him talking, and record everything. Jordan held up a cautionary hand. Be careful about recordings. Depending on where you do it, you might need his consent for it to be admissible. What about getting Palmer to flip on him? Mara suggested. He seemed nervous when Kaylin talked to him. Maybe he doesn't want to go down for this. Marcus nodded slowly. That might work. Palmer has a reputation to protect. If we approach him with evidence of forgery, he might cooperate to save himself. So we have 2 tracks, I summarized. Get evidence from Palmer and set up a meeting with Dad where we can get him to incriminate himself. I want to be there when you confront Thomas, Patricia said firmly. He needs to know that his own sister won't stand for this. We move fast, Jordan advised, before he can finalize any sales. As everyone discussed logistics, I felt a steely resolve replace my initial shock. My father had betrayed not just me, but everyone in this room, his own family. And for what? Money he didn't earn or deserve. He won't get away with this, I promised quietly. Not this time. The restaurant my father had chosen for our reconciliation dinner was upscale and public, his attempt to prevent a scene. Little did he know that worked perfectly for our plan. I arrived first, securing a corner table with Aaron and Mara at the bar keeping watch. When my father walked in, he looked exactly as I remembered. Confident, well-dressed, not a hint of guilt on his face. The sight of him made my stomach turn. Kaylin, he smiled, reaching for a hug I didn't reciprocate. You look wonderful. Save it, Dad, I said as he took his seat. Let's not pretend this is a happy reunion. His smile faltered slightly. I understand you're upset about the house. That's why I wanted to meet, to explain my reasoning. I'm all ears, I replied, activating the recording app on my phone under the table. Your grandmother's estate was more complicated than you realize, he began, his tone patronizing. There were taxes, debts, investment losses, issues I had to address quickly. Funny how none of that was mentioned in her will, I countered. The will that specifically left the house to me. He sighed dramatically. Wills can be outdated. Mom gave me power of attorney to make these decisions. Right after her stroke? When she could barely speak? I challenged, keeping my voice level despite my rising anger. She knew what she was doing, he insisted, looking uncomfortable. The point is, I'm trying to be fair now. 10% is generous considering… Considering what? I interrupted. Considering you stole everything she intended for us? His eyes hardened. Watch your accusations, Kaylin. Everything I did was legal. Including the forged power of attorney document? The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? The notary who supposedly witnessed Grandma's signature doesn't exist, Dad. We checked. He recovered quickly, forcing a laugh. That's ridiculous. Palmer handled all the paperwork. If there's any irregularity, it's on him. How convenient, I remarked. Blame the advisor who, by the way, has already spoken with the authorities. This was a bluff, but my father didn't know that. Palmer wouldn't say anything because there's nothing to say, he insisted, though I noticed his fingers tapping nervously on the table. On cue, Patricia approached our table. The shock on my father's face was almost worth everything he'd put us through. Hello, Thomas, she said coldly, taking the empty seat beside me. Patricia, he managed. What are you doing here? Supporting my niece, she replied, and asking my brother how he could steal from his own mother and children. This is a private conversation, he hissed. You have no right. I have every right, Patricia cut him off. Mom trusted you to care for her in her final months, and you betrayed that trust. Marcus and Aaron joined us now, surrounding the table. This is an ambush, my father said, attempting to stand. Aaron placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Sit down, Dad. We're just getting started. I don't have to listen to this, he snarled, shrugging off Aaron's hand. Actually, you do, Marcus said, sliding a document across the table. This is a temporary injunction against the sale of any assets from grandmother's estate. The judge approved it this afternoon. My father's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful brats. After everything I've done… What exactly have you done? I challenged. Disappear for 3 years? Steal our inheritance? Forge legal documents? You can't prove anything, he spat. Bradley Palmer seems to think otherwise, Marcus replied calmly. He's been very cooperative since learning about the forgery investigation. My father's composure finally shattered. Palmer's a coward. He knew exactly what we were doing. The admission hung in the air. Aaron smiled grimly as he held up his phone. Thanks for confirming that, Dad. The police will be interested to hear it. You're recording me? He demanded, lunging for Aaron's phone. The commotion drew attention from nearby tables as my father knocked over a water glass. You little backstabbers, he seethed, pointing at each of us. You think you can come after me? I'll fight this every step of the way. You'll never see a penny. This isn't about money, I said firmly. It's about justice. Justice? He laughed bitterly. You want justice? I'll show you justice. I'll bury you in legal fees until there's nothing left of your precious inheritance. Patricia stood, dignified, despite her brother's outburst. That's enough, Thomas. You've said more than enough. Stay out of this, Patricia, he warned. No, she replied simply. I've stayed out of your schemes for too long. My father grabbed his jacket, nearly knocking over his chair. This isn't over, he threatened, pointing directly at me. You'll regret this, Kaylin. All of you will. As he stormed toward the exit, the restaurant manager approached our table. Is everything all right here? Yes, I answered, watching my father's retreating figure. Everything is finally exactly as it should be. 3 months later, I unlocked the front door of my grandmother's house, now legally mine again. The court case had concluded swiftly once Palmer had testified against my father. Home sweet home, Aaron said, carrying in a box of family photos. Mara rushed in with her clipboard. The restoration crew finished upstairs. We can start moving furniture tomorrow. I still can't believe we won, I said, running my hand along the familiar banister. Believe it, Marcus replied, handing me an official-looking envelope. The judge's final order. Dad's officially going to prison for 18 months, plus 5 years probation. And full financial restitution, Aaron added with satisfaction. My phone rang. Patricia calling. Hey, Aunt Patricia, we're at the house now. Wonderful. Mom would be so happy, she said. How are you holding up? Better than expected, I admitted. There's a weird sense of closure. That's good to hear, Patricia replied. Thomas called me this morning from detention, asking me to arrange a family reconciliation meeting. I tensed. What did you tell him? That he made his choices and now he's facing the consequences. After hanging up, we gathered on the porch, the same one where Grandma used to tell us stories on summer evenings. A car pulled into the driveway. My father's former business partner, Michael. Sorry to intrude, he said, approaching hesitantly. I brought some things Thomas asked me to deliver to you. He handed me a thick envelope of old photos and a sealed letter. He's very sorry, Kaylin, Michael ventured. He wants to make amends when he gets out. Aaron laughed bitterly. 3 years of silence, stealing our inheritance, and now he's sorry? That's not going to happen, I said firmly, handing the unopened letter back to Michael. Tell him I said no. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. I understand, Michael nodded. For what it's worth, I think he finally realizes what he's lost. That was his choice, Marcus stated, not ours. After Michael left, Danny arrived with takeout dinner. So your dad tried the apology route? Classic? Too little, too late, I said, surprised by my own certainty. I don't hate him anymore. I just don't want him in my life. Later that evening, as everyone else headed home, I sat alone on Grandma's porch swing watching the sunset. My phone buzzed. The prison communication system. My father wanted to schedule a visit. I deleted the message without responding, then turned off my phone. For some, revenge means making the other person suffer. For me, it was simpler. Justice, boundaries, and moving forward. My father had made his choices. Now I was making mine. Sitting there in the house that was rightfully mine, surrounded by memories of the woman who had truly loved me, I felt at peace for the first time in years. Have you ever had to stand up to someone who betrayed your trust? What did you do? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about family, justice, and moving forward.